Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and I have something quite peculiar today for reviewing. This is an old knife. This is a Phrobis modular field knife. The modular field knife is a lightweight version of the combat utility knife designed by Phrobis. This is the same designer as the one that made the legendary M9 bayonet, and there's a couple interesting things going on with this knife. This was intended to be used, well, the combat utility version was intended to be used by the Navy SEAL, then it had certain, was not so successful, but the lightweight version, the MFK, the modular field knife, has in fact been used in Desert Storm, so it is worth looking into. Especially there's a design characteristic that, catches my attention quite powerfully. I've been into knives for many years now, 30 years, and there's not a whole lot that surprises me. In this case, though, you have a plastic tang going on in this knife. Why? Well, because as the name says, it's a modular field knife. It is intended to be adapted to the different type of uses that you may give it. So you have a knife that can be disassembled, and it has a plastic tang. You just unscrew it like so. You remove it, and there it goes. This is the knife disassembled. And you have this, this guard can be adapted to whatever. It is intended to be used like a diving knife, a field knife, or whatever intended use. And you supposedly adapt that intended use with this cross piece. Kind of gimmicky, yeah, I would say so, definitely. But I just want to see how well this holds on in actual use. So I bought a spare one, especially giving this, because this is, in essence, this becomes the tang of the knife. Once this is screwed like so, instead of having something welded or a rat tail or something, no, this becomes the tang of your knife. But first of all, I have a little bit of hope because the designer, again, it was Mickey Flynn. Is it the same designer as the M9 bayonet, the founder of Phrobis, and legendary knife designer? And then there's we have the case of the Glock knife, which is in essence something very similar. It's a very short, narrow tang that's just surrounded and completed with Glock's polymer 2 plastic, and it makes for one of the strongest bayonets you could possibly think of. You're going to be breaking the blade before you break the tang and this connection with the handle. Now, yes, of course, this is not the same thing because this isn't just molded around it. You screw it in place, but it may be more solid than it seems, and this is not just any common plastic. This is Zytel, which is a DuPont reinforced plastic with fiberglass. So let's see how this holds on in actual testing. I have this one that, the other ones I'm going to be keeping it as, for part of my collection and not using this, but I want to get one specifically for testing and seeing how well it holds on. The only thing I did is just sharpening it a little bit more because it was not even cutting paper, and now, yes, it is, and yeah, it's a decent enough. It's not super sharp, but it's decent enough, and I didn't mess with the angle a whole lot. I just wanted to keep it as original as possible and just give it a little bit of an edge and not mess with the angles so as to have that as an excuse for any weakness in the steel. This is 425, which is just a pretty basic stainless steel. Let's see how it holds on. So I will say I was pleasantly surprised. You know, I was expecting not to do too terrible, given it's Phrobis, it's the same company behind the M9 bayonet, so good design there. The materials also, I know our quality is not just a piece of plastic. Zytel is quite solid, and as we know from the Glock bayonet, plastic can make for pretty strong handle material, even with a very minimalistic Tang, and mostly, again, this is mostly a plastic Tang because it's just screwing to the blade right there. So yeah, that is, I was kind of expecting it to not do that terrible. So it did okay. The final test will be several months of actually using it that way. In that case, if it holds on after several months of doing just that, then yeah, I'm gonna be, you know, backing the blade a bit more. A couple things to mention. Of course, I'm not that hard at doing tasks. The thing is, I'm doing this with my camera between my hands. I do that because I think it's good for you guys to have that perspective as if you're doing this yourself. But whenever I'm trying to chop, stab, or whatnot, trying to do that through the camera, it's a little bit more complicated than it may seem. So yeah, that's my excuse at least. I'm very surprised by the tip. Completely honest, I thought I was gonna be chipping or breaking that. It has nothing. Nothing. That's a piece of pallet wood, and I was giving it a good pull to the side, and as you see, it is still, this blade is very well heat treated. That's a given. So it's 425 stainless steel, maybe not everyone's favorite steel, but I will tell you, this has performed rather well. There's really no chipping on the blade, nothing, and that is very well seasoned firewood. It is wood that when you see it like break like glass like that, sure, so it could be sharper than it is, but man, I'm really not complaining. So once you stab it like that and you see the different ways in which it cuts, a little bit more fluffy, more feathery, right? When it's like a little bit more hairy on the cut, that means it's not cutting as clean. When it's cleaner, it means it's sharper. And that gives you an idea of how sharp it is along the edge. Just a little tip for you guys to keep in mind when you do that. You can analyze that and see where it's sharper or not. But all things considered, yeah, not bad at all. And yeah, man, pretty sharp, pretty decent. No chipping, no breaking, no nothing, which many blades that you'd buy these days will not be nearly as well heat treated as this blade from Marto in Toledo, Spain. Very nice. Also, the way it chops a little bit better than you probably would have expected. I almost went through the entire piece of wood there, and that's because of the construction, all the weight is here. There's very little weight here, nothing, just a little piece of metal. This is all plastic, and the weight being there, keep in mind, this is a 4-inch and a half, under 5-inch blade. That's 14 centimeter blade. It still chops quite decently if you would have to use that. So yeah, also the saw, this is intended to cut aluminum from an aircraft, from that sort of thing. That's the original intent of this kind of serration. It is not intended for cutting wood. I just tried it nonetheless just to see how it does, but it was expected because it's intended to cut chunk of metal so as to escape a fallen aircraft or something along those lines. Strong tip. That is very nice, and it's not super hard. The blade is, I think it's heat treated to 50 Rockwell, so 425 stainless steel. Man, it is intended for a soldier. He's not going to be asking. Soldiers don't wonder what type of steel do I have in my bayonet or in my fighting knife. They want just something that's rust resistant and gets somewhat of a decent edge when you kind of poorly sharpen it with a stone that you have there. I mean, this one doesn't even come with a stone. The finish, I was very pleasantly surprised. Check it out. Nothing. If you look at the bayonet of the Glock bayonet, and of course this has been through a lot more wood, but usually with any modern knife that I try these days, it is going to be coming off rather easily. Just the first time you go through a log like that, nothing. Here, excellent finish. Just very nice. Has this rolled a little bit? No, it's just sharp, man. That is amazing. The final test will be several months of using it and maybe a little bit of abusing it, but not trying to break it like a fool. Just giving it some good, honest, hard use, and that's going to be the final test as of how good this knife finally is. But so far, so good. Pretty amazing for what they did back in the day. Folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. See you on the next one. Have an awesome day.